friends and family of the PTB Wrestling Network, throw the streamers, shake hands, and let's enjoy a little honor. Welcome, everyone, to this month's episode of a look back through history in the Pod of Honor. It is the Pod of Honor for the month of June. Better late than never. I'm your co-host, Scott Criscola. We hope you've enjoyed the first few episodes. We've gone through timelines and shows and guys and all sorts of fun. And we're going to have an amazing episode for you tonight. Because we're going to go back, not that far back in history, to look back at arguably one of the greatest single-year feuds in history, and to look back at maybe, for the first time since 1989, one of the greatest trilogies in wrestling history. But I will not do it alone, because I have some honor, but this guy has lots of honor. He would never not shake hands. He would never not break under the ropes. He is the Ricky Steamboat of the PTB Wrestling Network. Good evening, Steve Willie.
I'm Drags. I am. I hope someone cleans the computers from our blood after we do this podcast.
Woo! There was a ton, and it got
a lot of blood.
More. Yeah. How are you? What's going on?
I'm doing okay. A lot of wrestling going on.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of wrestling always going on, so it's fun to just find a topic and just going a little bit deep into it.
I agree.
Just reliving like a feud all at once, especially because it was a trilogy and not like 12 matches or 3 years of matches. Just like, hey, let's watch 3 matches and see what they're like.
Absolutely. And it also gives us a look back to last year, which is where we're going, when we talk about wrestling in 2022 and how almost different it is compared to even now. I mean, 1 year, it's so different. But check back. Our episodes are not, for the most part, not chronological. So go back to the site, placetobe.podbean.com, or your podcast catcher, type in Pod of Honor, and look back at the first, how many episodes have we done? 4?
These are good questions. I think this is 5. I think this is number 5.
Yeah, number 5. So I think you're right. So go back and look at listen to the previous episodes after you listen to this one. So you don't have to turn this one off. It's not episodic. Of course, Steve, Willie, and I also are together on one of the longest running shows in our network's history, and that is, of course, Place to Be Nation's Main Event. New episode dropped last week. I think you'll really like it. You could, for those that watched Forbidden Door, check back and check our preview, see how close we were to being right. And then we had a nice little tribalism discussion. If you're listening to this the day it drops, next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, will be our next episode of Main Event. We will recap what happened on Saturday in London at Money in the Bank and look ahead, of course, to the Motor City. But that's other stuff. Let's talk about tonight. All right. So when we think of like a capsule of matches, whether they mark a feud or they mark, a snapshot of history, usually it's 3 matches. I know 2 feuds off the top of my head, and if you have any other, Steve, please say them. The 2 that, of course, come to mind for me is Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat, of course, in 1989. And Triple H and Batista in 2005. 2 matches, two feuds that had a trilogy of matches that got progressively better as they went along, and had an amazing climax. The trilogy we're going to talk about tonight is very close to the Triple H Batista one. Respect, revenge, violence. And that's how it was tonight. That's how it was last year with this feud between these 2 teams. I think you're kind of getting an idea of where we're going tonight. Steve, of course, picked this because he's the best. So set the table for us, Steve. What are we getting into this evening? And what I keep talking about trilogies and teams and blood. This could be anything.
It could be anything. We have chosen, and we had this on the list before we even started the podcast. Yep. We were just waiting for one of the shows to come out on Honor Club, and that's the trilogy of matches to determine the best tag team in the world between the Briscoes and FTR.
Yep.
They said during one of the broadcasts the best tag teams in ROH history. I don't know if you could do that when FTR had a total of 3 matches.
Correct.
The ones we're going to do, but
that's true.
Clearly the best. The Briscoes, I would say easily the best tag team of the 2010s, and then FTR a little bit more current. Right. Late 2010s, early 2020s here.
Right. Yep.
So just one of those things when Ring of Honor popped up again under Tony Khan, just had the first pay-per-view. What should we do? Throw Briscoes and FTR together. Brilliant. Sometimes booking is just taking the easy things.
Yep. Absolutely. And of course, as you've discussed, in 2022, ROH was kind of I thought NWA had it bad during the pandemic, but during the pandemic, Ring of Honor was literally about to have the plug kicked.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it ad nauseum on you, me, and Nate and Pete on Main Event throughout the pandemic. We thought the plug was going to get kicked.
Yeah.
And Tony saved the day, bought ROH, which I think I think we all kind of knew was going to happen. I don't think WWE was going to buy Ring of Honor because they wouldn't have done it justice. I admit that totally. I don't think Triple H would have done a Vince WCW 2001. Not at all. I don't think he would have done that. It's just wouldn't have been the same.
They bought Dragon Gate and Evolve and all that stuff, and they put up just the current WWE shows and then 10 of the originals, and they haven't done a thing with it in years. They're sitting on years of footage that just an intern has to upload to a server somewhere.
Right? Yeah,
don't even have to do anything with it.
I know, it's crazy.
They still haven't done anything.
All right, it's nuts. So Tony Khan buys it and kind of rejiggers everything and brings us to 2022 in ROH. And so tonight we are going to take you to the last, I think it was officially the last 3, well, probably the 3 biggest pay-per-views of 2022 for Ring of Honor. And these 2 teams, FTR and the Briscoes. Of course, FTR was what's sad? Why can't I ever remember their name in NXT?
Well, for the longest time, I couldn't remember their name in AEW. It took a good year and a half, at least, to get it right. And the funny thing was, I literally just watched a match with them, or I listened to a review about their matches with. Oh,
they were the
Tommaso
Revival.
And right. They were the Revival. I was thinking trying to think of their individual names, and no, that's gone.
No. Well, let's see. They were Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson.
Scott Dawson, I know. Right. Yeah.
I think Dash Wilder. I think that was their names in WWE. And of course they were the Revival, and of course we could do a show if we were doing NXT. Jesus, we could do a show on them and DIY. I mean, that was not as bloody, but easily some of the best work rate of 2 tag teams. In fact, I believe one of their matches is on my GWW Top 100 of all time. I don't remember which one. Was it Toronto? I think it was Toronto. Maybe it was Chicago 2. No, Chicago 2 was Tommaso and Johnny separate. Something like that. Anyway, I think it was Toronto. Then, of course, they left because they went to Raw and were treated like crap, like most tag teams are, and left. And they have flourished in AEW because I have said all along, and it's true. One of the things AEW does better than anybody is cultivate tag teams and have an amazing tag team division because Vince doesn't give a shit about tag teams. And then when Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor and kind of repositioned it, what better way to do the first big show? Because our first show that we'll talk about tonight, their first match, they did technically own them because of what happened at the end of the match. So it definitely happened before Mania, because this obviously is Mania weekend.
Right.
So our first match of the trilogy, we go to April 1st of 2022 to what is pretty much their WrestleMania of ROH, and that is Supercard of Honor, and it was the 15th annual. And it was a month before, March 2nd, that Tony announced on Dynamite that he bought ROH. So this was officially the first pay-per-view of the TK era.
Correct.
Took place at the Curtis Culwell Center in Garland. I was not at this show. Of course, I was, as I've said before, I was in Dallas Mania weekend last year. And I was not here. I was at another show that night that we're going to talk about in a minute because it affected one of the other matches on the card.
It was at Jerry Jones' house.
Of course it was, because Jerry likes me. I wish I could go to Jerry's house. It'd be great. Well, I was those 2 nights. The next 2 nights, I was at Jerry's other house.
Yes,
but that's a different story.
I'll talk to Dak. We'll see what we can do.
Love you, Dak. I know Logan Crosland loves Dak. So
I like got a lot. I like quite a bit.
I love Dak too. I just need a win.
Yes.
I need more than one win in January is what I need.
Do you have a Dak Prescott jersey? No, I'm going to go all over the place tonight. Do you have a Dak Prescott jersey?
Of course I do. I wore it. If you saw my pictures, I wore a Dak. Wore a Dak jersey. I don't think I wore them both. No, I didn't. I wore it the Saturday. Mm-hmm. I wore it night 1 of Mania. I wore my Dak jersey.
Blue with the white sleeves.
Yes.
That's the best one.
Yeah, that's the one I had, and stood on the whatever it is, like the practice thing in front of the AT&T, and I stood there on the star because I show respect, not you, T.O. You suck, and just walking in the building, Anyway, if you want to hear all those mushy stories about me at Dallas, go back to past episodes of Main Event and the NWA Saturday Special. So, anyway, but that Friday night, I was not here. I was at another show. Let's go through the card quick, and then we'll get to the match. So, there were 4 pre-show matches. Cole Cabana defeated Blake Christian. AQA defeated Miranda Alize. Gates of Agony defeated the Shinobi. Two great tag team names. Mm-hmm. The Gates of Agony and the Shinobi Shadow Squad.
That was like the end of Cheeseburger's Ring of Honor.
Pretty much. And then Dalton Castle defeated Joe Hendry. Then the proper show, Swerve Strickland, of course, was in AEW, defeated Alex Zane. Brian Cage defeated Ninja Mac. I love Willie Mack, too. Right? Is that Willie Mack?
No, Ninja Mac is this little looking dude.
Oh. I thought
they actually recently tagged Ninja Mac and Willie Mack after having a match. Ninja Mac is the most flippiest of flippy. Really short, kind of stocky guy. Mm-hmm. He's like if Jack Evans was a fire hydrant.
Oh. That's a good one. I like that comparison. Jay Lethal defeated Lee Moriarty because nobody likes him. Then the title matches. Now, this was interesting. This is what I was about to mention. So mm-hmm. Mercedes Martinez defeated Willow Nightingale by submission for the interim ROH Women's title. Because at the time, the ROH Women's Champion was Deonna Purrazzo. But she was already wrestling at the show I was at that night, which was the Multiverse of Matches, which was the mishmash of New Japan, NWA, and Impact. It was a mishmash. Mm-hmm. And Deonna Purrazzo that night defeated Fabi Apache. But she wasn't even defending the ROH title. She was defending the AAA title. Mm-hmm. And which is a good match, by the way. And then Taya Valkyrie came out, which was pretty funny. So Deonna Purrazzo was not at the Supercard of Honor to defend the ROH World title because she had already committed to being at Multiverse of Matches. So
right, because those were at the they were trying to do it. Now that you say this, I remember this.
Yeah.
They were trying to. She was trying to be able to do both shows, but it just didn't work out with timing.
No, I mean, I don't know where this was. I mean, Garland, I have no idea where that is, but
yeah.
The Multiverse of Matches was where WrestleCon was at the hotel, the Fairmont. I think it's called the Fairmont Hotel.
And I know it was no like hard feelings, or it wasn't like a
Medusa
situation. It was just Ring of Honor pretty much let everyone get out of their contracts.
Right.
During the pandemic, and
Yep.
it was, they tried to work it out, and it was literally just timing.
Right. It was pretty much timing. You're exactly right. In the rest of the matches, Minoru Suzuki defeated Rhett Titus to win the ROH television title.
I looked forward to that match. I did watch the show when it was on. I hate Rhett Titus. He might be a nice guy. I don't know. I just never liked him. So I looked forward to this match more than any Rhett Titus match has ever existed. Because I just wanted Minoru to beat the crap out of him.
Beat the crap out of him. I'm ambivalent because Rhett Titus shows up in NWA a lot, so he's okay. I like his mask, that weird, creepy, drippy skull thing, but he's okay. Wheeler Yuta won the Pure title. He beat Josh Woods, and then the main event in the unification match, Jonathan Gresham defeated Bandito to win the. That seems like a lifetime ago.
It does,
doesn't it? To win the then ROH World Title. Of course, we all know what happened for Jonathan down the line. But anyway, now to our match. So at the time, the Briscoes were your ROH World Tag Team Champions. FTR were the AAA. Maybe they hadn't won AAA yet. They were
just the AAA.
title. Okay.
Because the second match they had all three.
Right, they did. So I think here they may have just had the
AAA, I think.
Oh, I thought they had the IWGP. Now I'm confused.
Who knows? Maybe they just didn't have the belt with them.
Yeah, exactly. They may have had one or the other. I'm not sure. Anyway, so this was the first match, regular straight up wrestling match for the ROH tag team titles. FTR had their awesome tights with FTR in their butts in the ROH old school font, of course, the font of our show logo. 27 minutes and 25 seconds. Longest match of the night. About 3 minutes shorter than the main event. You could definitely tell, in my opinion, Steve, and tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like they knew that this was going to be long term. So even for 27 minutes, I feel like they spent the first few like maybe half of the match kind of going through the motions until they figured out some kind of a rhythm to get through the match without going too far overboard, because I think everybody knew that this feud was going to have legs. So I feel like they didn't want to push the gas. And I don't want to say it hurt the match, but when I first watched it, I'm thinking, oh, this match was really good, but I wouldn't say it was the greatest thing on the planet. I would give it like maybe 3 3/4.
Yeah, I went about 4 1/4. I was thinking 4 1/4, right around there. So really not much difference at all. I mean, that's
right.
When you're talking, that's pretty close. But it was just like it was kind of a Southern tag. It was tag team wrestling, and there were a lot of talking back and forth beforehand because they couldn't really, play this up on AEW TV because it happened so quickly. And one of my favorite parts in the beginning was when Dax got frustrated and chucked the chair in the ring, and Paul Turner made a perfect catch. The referee.
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed the back and forth and the way they were working things. I thought the Briscoes did a great job of kind of holding themselves back a little bit. The crowd was.
You have stuff to say about these crowds. Yeah, you have a traveling crowd,
right? Because
of WrestleMania. You also weren't sure really what was going to happen with this show because of everything being up in the air. I think they had about 2,000 according to Cage Match. Okay. So with a lot of these shows, they get put together at the last minute. With Tony buying it, they were kind of, taking out some of the old guys and, like your Rhett Titus and your Josh Woods. Bandito, who eventually came back. Even Willow Nightingale, to a point, was more just used here and there. So it was trying to reestablish all the titles to have a starting point of where you wanted to go. So I thought this was a decent crowd. They were more of a pro Briscoes crowd, not by much, but because it was a Ring of Honor show. To the second show, which we'll get to, I thought that I was really disappointed with that crowd in general. They were quiet, especially for it being the main event. And it was a more of an AEW crowd.
Massholes.
Yeah, it was more of an AEW crowd than a Ring of Honor crowd. And
right.
I believe Ian Riccoboni and Caprice even mentioned that. And then the final match, though, I thought it was actually more of a Ring of Honor card, with it being Final Battle. And I don't remember where that was, if it was at Baltimore or...
I don't remember either. Dave gave
was in Texas again. Yeah.
Oh, Final Battle? Okay.
Yeah.
Dave gave this 5 stars. I don't see it.
I wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't see it. For comparison, he gave the opener, Swerve and Alex Zane, 3 1/4.
I remember really liking that match. He
gave Lethal and Moriarty 4.
I remember liking that match, but not to a 4-star. That was when Lethal turned heel. And we weren't sure if he was going to be in Ring of Honor or AEW, because it wasn't that long before that he started in AEW.
He gave Suzuki and Rhett Titus 1 3/4, although on Steve Willie's scale, he gave it 467 stars.
Yeah, I don't think Rhett Titus more than it was a squash, basically. It's squash.
The Yuta Woods match, he gave 2 1/4.
It was a disappointing match, I do remember.
Disappointing, you said?
Yeah, I thought it was way better.
And then Gresham and Bandito got 4 1/4. Do you agree with that?
With his, his scale has gone upwards over the past 5 years or so. So I kind of stand. I don't go above 5, and that's just my. I understand why Dave did it, and I respect his views on wrestling. It just that he has had so many matches that he's like, well, this 5-star match from 1980 is a lot different than this 2022 match.
I know.
So
right.
I get it. I don't think that people really need to put so much stock into the ratings. Rate them how you like.
I agree.
I'm sure there are moviegoers that are like, I can't believe you rated that Elemental 3 1/4 stars instead of 3 stars. So what are you doing?
I know.
But maybe there are.
How dare you be so generous with a 1/4 star?
Yeah. Well, people do that. People do that with wrestling matches. So
it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. So I thought it was a really solid match, and it established the feud. There was really... The beginning was a little disappointing, and I think this has been happening in Ring of Honor way too much. The whole point is to shake hands before and after. It's always been that way. And when you don't shake, it's generally you're in the middle of a feud or you have no respect for your opponent. And so right off the bat, you're supposed to establish that these two teams have respect for each other. But FTR refuses to shake hands right at the beginning.
Right.
I was like, that doesn't really make much sense.
I agree.
So as the match went by, there was a lot of blood in this series. But Jay and Mark were busted open in this match.
Yep.
Dak started bleeding I even went back and watched. I have no idea where Dak started bleeding. Not even sure why they would bleed in this match. I feel like that would be something to build up to.
Right. Which I feel like they did. I'm trying to remember myself. I think... did he hit the guardrail? No, that would be it. Did he hit something? Trying to remember something that went on the outside.
Stairs, maybe?
Yeah, something happened on the outside, if I remember correctly.
And even Mark. I had my notes, too. I said Mark bleeding from ... I don't know. Maybe a tornado DDT on the floor?
I know. Yeah, there was a lot of spike shots in this match, and those would get more prevalent as the year would progress. And then FTR won with their finisher, and
they blocked the Doomsday device and then transitioned into the big rig.
The big rig.
I actually forgot that FTR was the one who won the first match. I thought it went Briscoes, FTR, Briscoes. I did not recall, so it was actually kind of surprised that they won to me. I completely forgot that that was the way the matches went.
That's funny. So FTR wins the ROH World Tag Team titles in match 1 from WrestleMania weekend in Garland, Texas, in 2022.
You know how I know these matches picked up from 1 to 3? The amount of notes that I had from one is like, oh, there's not that many notes that I had on this one. Oh, this one has a little bit more. And then the third one, it's just like scribbles.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I had a feeling that the match was kind of going to be like that. So was kind of going to be like that it was going to be more of a feeling out match, but was still, I mean, the match is exceptional. But I wouldn't give it 5 stars like Dave did. I would say it's more like 3 3/4, maybe bordering on 4 stars. But so we fast forward about 3.5 months to July 23rd, 2022 at the Songus Center in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Paulie T.
Yep. I believe I was in Rhode Island that weekend. I don't think I would think I was visiting Mr. Rizzero and the crew, so I don't know if we actually went. Well, we didn't go. I know
that could be. That's right around St. Mary's time, I believe.
It was St. Mary's. That was the weekend. I'm pretty sure it was St. Mary's. Death before Dishonor. And here is your card. We had a bunch of title changes here. So obviously at this point is when Gresham had his issues. So Claudio Castagnoli, Mr. Cesaro, defeated Gresham to win the ROH World title. That match got 3 1/4. In the 6-man tag team title match, Dalton Castle and the Boys defeated the Righteous to win the 6-man tag titles, 2 3/4. In the pure title match, Wheeler Yuta successfully defended against Daniel Garcia. I remember us talking about this match on Main Event.
Yeah, because I kind of picked and chose some of these matches. I don't think I watched all of them.
4 stars. Rush defeated Dragon Lee, and of course Dragon Lee's now in WWE.
Yeah, brother versus brother. Yep.
Mercedes Martinez did end up winning the ROH World title. She beat Deonna Purrazzo, and on this night she beat Serena Deeb, one of my other personal.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they brought Deonna onto Dynamite.
Yep.
And that was the workout between Impact and them, just to show that there was no hard feelings at all. They put him on the show, and that was going to be what happened anyway. So.
Yeah, and so Martinez won in 17-20. 3 stars there.
I wonder what Serena Deeb is up to right now. She's been off of TV for quite a long time.
She has been.
There isn't. The update is that a couple weeks before we. No real. Many believe that she is hurt right now.
Okay, that's entirely possible. Samoa Joe, of course, now at this point, Tony started giving some AEW guys ROH belts, although they are ROH alums. But Samoa Joe defeated Jay Lethal to retain the TV title. Then the match we're about to talk about, we'll get to in a minute. Actually, it was the main event, so let's talk about it now. So, match number 2, FTR defending the ROH World Tag titles against the Briscoes, this time in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Feeling very Flair Steamboat-ish, sir. Because of course, that was the second match of that trilogy back in 1989 at Clash of the Champions 6 was 2 out of 3 falls, and that is my favorite match of that trilogy and my favorite NWA match of all time. I didn't, what's funny, Steve, I wanted to do my best to kind of go into this cold. So I didn't know either of the stips.
Oh, wow.
So I had no idea this was 2 out of 3 falls. And I certainly had no idea what the third match stip was, which I'll get to in a minute. Which, yeah, the wrestling boner pop there. We'll get to that in a minute. So this was 2 out of 3 falls, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be juicy. Literally. And it was the main event, which I thought was pretty great. Looking back, Steve, on a side note, was there a reason why they did the Claudio Gresham match first? To just get that drama out of the way?
There were a few reasons, and I don't remember 100%. So I'm just going off of memory here. Like Gresham was very upset that they were going on first. I know that they wanted to, and Ring of Honor historically has put on tag team title matches in the main event. It's not something new. They've done it very, very, gosh, I want to say that like back when AJ Styles and Amazing Red were tag teaming together in like '03, like the first year, '03, '04, that they were in the main event sometimes. So this is not something new that they're doing just to like piss off Gresham. That was one of the reasons why Gresham was ticked off. Plus the amount of time for that match got put down. And Gresham just didn't think he was going to be used properly. So, and I think it was just a combination of things where it just wasn't a good fit. So I was surprised that they put it on first, but I do think that there were extenuating circumstances going on. And to be frank, if you look at the rest of the card, I mean, Samoa Joe versus Lethal, that's a legacy match. Lethal was Joe's, underling way back in '05. I think the FTR versus the Briscoes deserved the main event. I'm surprised they didn't get it in the main event for Final Battle.
I was very surprised when they weren't in the main event.
Yeah, imagine having to follow that.
I know, right? And somebody did. So this match, obviously, I know we have to wait, Steve. I know I want to jump into that match literally in the deep end of the pool, but
yeah.
But this match was excellent. I liked it a lot. I mean, I love 2 out of 3 falls anyway because it just it brings out. I think a stip like that promotes kind of stretching your time out. Leads to what should be good wrestling, particularly if you've got guys who kind of know how to handle this. FTR has had their share, and the Briscoes, I think, was it Caprice that said it? Like the year before, 2021, the Briscoes won like 6 2 out of 3 fall matches that year. So
it was a few years before that. They had a long history of doing best out of 3 matches, and it was pretty original that they would win 2 falls to 0. And you even heard, I believe, Jay after the first fall, which they won by slingshotting. I can't tell who, but like did a regular Doomsday device 4-3. Really, it was really slow. Like the big part of it was Mark doing a cactus elbow, and then I believe Cash Wheeler hit him with a massive clothesline on his. Running across the apron, and then Jay hit him right back, which eventually led to the Doomsday device. After that, Jay just kind of told Mark, he's like, "All right, let's go for the sweep again." So there's some good throwbacks, and it helped having Ring of Honor commentators on the show. William Regal was on. Oh, William Regal was out for the Wheeler Yuta match and the Claudio match for the BCC guys.
Yes. And we'll see the BCC guys later. Oh, incidentally, backtrack 1 minute that we forgot. Go back to Supercard of Honor. Matt and his brother came out and threw a couple super kicks in FTR's face.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yep, because it was they did a little super kick party action. The Jackson boys. And they started throwing jabs from we left this dump a few years ago and now we own it. They did such a Vince move. It was great. They came out at the end of the match at Supercard of Honor. Which is great because they were getting heat because they were heels, and a lot of people think they're heels, period. But this match definitely amped up the violence meter. Yes. FTR. I love the fact that FTR always wears different colors. This night on this match, they wore red. The Briscoes just only slightly alter their camo. Otherwise, they pretty much wear the same thing. These were a little brighter, but FTR had red on. This one definitely was paced differently. I feel like the Briscoes dictated tempo more in this match. I felt FTR dictated more in the first match.
Especially the first fall felt really slow.
Yeah, it definitely did. Your total runtime was 43:26. Mark pinned Dax at 16:33. Then Dax pinned Jay at 29-33, and then Dax pinned Jay again at 43-26 to win the match, 2-1. That one came out of nowhere. I was actually expecting the Briscoes to win this match. This was actually the bigger surprise for me. Steve, was that I thought these results were going to be flip-flopped. I could have sworn that I thought the Briscoes were going to win this match. And when FTR won, I was like, oh, I guess it's the end of that. But
yeah,
it's not, obviously. And then I think Blackpool came out at the top. Regal and I guess Daniel Garcia, right? Was he in it?
No, he was in it. Regal and
no, he's
Claudio.
Yeah, Claudio came out. That's right, Claudio came out.
And Yuta, because Yuta and Claudio were the
new champs.
Champions at that point.
Yep. So, but the pacing of this match was very different. The violence meter was amped up. There was more blood. Not as much as I thought, but a lot of blood. But I was stunned when I saw FTR win. And I got to be honest, Steve, this crowd sucked.
Yeah, I was really disappointed in this crowd, which is bigger than the Mania crowd. 3,100 people, and it just felt silent at many different times, even when the violence was picking up. Because the second fall, they got a big ring on Jay for 3 after they flapjack Mark into the stairs, and that busted him open.
Yes. Oh my God, that was stiff. Holy shit.
You can actually hear it. And I don't remember if he had his hand in front to block it either.
Probably not.
Yes.
Knowing them, probably not.
One of my favorite parts of that fall, which legitimately got me to laugh out loud, was they were starting to fight behind the tables in the announce desk. And Capricious goes, "Go do it at the Spanish announce table, not here." And Ian's like, "Wait, I don't even think there is a Spanish announce table at this show." It's like, I don't care.
What are your thoughts? Because I don't really know him that well. What are your thoughts on Riccoboni as a play-by-play guy?
I think that he really grew into his own over the years. When he was towards the end of Kevin's run, there was like Kevin and Cole Cabana and Ian, and Kevin would come in for the big shows, and it just didn't work right. Where Kevin and Ian, like Kevin was trying to let Ian take the lead, but Kevin's more of a play-by-play guy, so it was just it was a little bit awkward. And then for the longest time, Ian would try to throw in like hip-hop references, which was strange because you already had Mauro Ranallo doing that to a larger crowd on NXT. So, but Ian knows his stuff. He's he's really intelligent in terms of knowing the product.
Yep.
He's not over the top, but he's got a good enthusiasm.
Right.
So I like him. I think Caprice is criminally underrated at color commentary. In the third match, I'll just say it now before I forget. He would just, when it got so violent, he's like, I'm having trouble watching this just as a friend. These guys call me on my birthday. They call me on my kid's birthday. And I'm like, I'm sure he's not that close with FTR, even though they're all from North Carolina. But I believe that about the Briscoes. Like, Caprice spoke at Jay's funeral. Right. And bringing that kind of expertise to it. I think he's a really good color commentator. And when he was in AEW a bunch last year for the Ring of Honor shows, I thought he did an excellent job too, and hope to see more of him. There's enough shows where he can do more, but bring the guy in for Rampage. We don't need Chris Jericho.
Exactly. Chris Jericho just.
But overall, I thought the two of them do a pretty good job. They've had some pretty crappy Ring of Honor announcers over the years, but pretty much the entire first 7 years, or maybe 5 years, have been pretty bad.
Yeah, I agree. I was just curious.
Dave Prazak and Lenny Leonard were probably the only decent announcers before Kevin came, and then like Kevin and Nigel, excellent. I like the choice of them doing Collision.
I love Kevin and Nigel. I love Kevin. Yeah. So but I'm obviously being biased because I love Kevin. But I was just curious because I don't know a lot of Ian. I mean, I've listened to some stuff, and obviously I listened to 3 matches of him today. Yeah, I like him. He's not bad. Again, I'll always love Kevin because
Oh, sure.
Kevin's a good friend. So Kevin means a lot to me. So, and I was very happy when he got the AEW gig. Did you see though that Collision? You know this is going to happen. I thought it would be at least a few more weeks, but obviously, the second episode of Collision's ratings were not as good. But you knew.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen, and I like it's going to have to kind of plateau a little bit, like get to
right
a few weeks of it.
Yep.
I'm just like Rampage. What destroys Rampage all the time is how every year when it gets moved around for the tournament and for NBA, you don't know where to find it, and then that takes away ratings because you're not going to go hunt for it. And the same thing happened to Raw way back in the day with the dog show and tennis.
And the U.S. Open.
Yeah, the ratings would go down because you're expecting it to be there, and it's not. So you're just not going to go on a hunt for it. And once college football comes and the NFL comes, well, the NFL, do they do Saturday night games for NFL, or aren't those in the afternoon usually?
Yeah, and they're not till the end of the year.
Yeah.
So they're not till the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season.
But yeah, they're take a hit there.
Yeah, so. But yeah, I mean, you got primetime CBS games this year, this year on CBS, and I know this obviously firsthand. There'll be morphing some SEC and then Big Ten before Big Ten is permanent.
All I got to do is compare. It's just compared to what usually would be on that at that time.
Right.
Should we look up Brazilian Isles? And I thought about doing that the other day on Main Event. I thought about looking historical TNT numbers on Saturday night from 8 Eastern to 10 Eastern.
Yes. God. What was the oh shit. What was that that lawyer show with Mark Paul Gosselaar and
oh
God.
Not Suits.
No, Suits is the other show. Suits was on USA after Raw.
Yeah.
Suits is actually a good show. What the hell was it called? Oh crap! I gotta look it up now.
I'm looking it up right now.
All right, you look it up. I'll yabber. So FTR won the match, and I was actually very stunned. I was stunned that he won the match.
Franklin and Bash.
Franklin and Bash. That's it.
With Breckenmeyer. God.
Oh God. Terrible.
The third fall was vicious. And that really stepped up the violence for the next match. My favorite part of Ian Riccaboni in this match, I already said my favorite for Caprice, was, and there's probably 3 people that are going to be listening to this podcast and will get the reference that he made. Mark did his blockbuster from the apron, like the old Buff Bagwell blockbuster, and he does it from the apron to the floor. So I can't remember his exact words, but he basically referenced Bill Cullen, the old host of the game show Blockbuster.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a late 70s, early 80s reference right there. Probably before he was even born.
Cullen.
Yep. Great game show Blockbuster.
Yes. You know what my favorite one of my favorite game show hosts ever was? Jack Barry.
Oh yeah.
And he did Joker's Wild. No whiskey and weed like Snoop would do Joker's Wild. But Jack Barry always had that evil look on his face, and Jack with the giant handle to turn the fucking roulette thing and or the whatever the slot machine thing, and so good.
I remember, God, and this is showing our age, but whatever. I remember being scared as a little kid because he fell and collapsed on a run or something like that. And so he just all of a sudden disappeared from Joker's Wild. And they mentioned from the whoever the guest host was mentioned that he had a big fall. And I was only a little tiny kid. I just remember being really scared. Wait, that could happen? A game show host can just disappear because at that time, Bob Barker was on for a good 30 years at that point.
Right.
Yeah, he died suddenly in 1984.
Yeah.
Who would have thought we would be talking about Jack Barry on a Ring of Honor show?
Or, I know most people think their favorite. I mean, my favorite game show theme is $25,000 Pyramid. It's because JR and I used to use it on the contest. You know what else was a great theme? Tic Tac Dough. Okay, now we really have taken this podcast to a different.
Wink Martindale.
Wink Martindale. I love Tic-Tac-Toe. What a great show. Anyway, imagine FTR and the Briscoes on a game show. They'll just throw the fucking desks at each other. It'd be great. You know why, Steve? Because there was a stretch when you were working at home and you would talk to us in our chat that you're watching game shows on. You would have game show network.
Yep, Game Show Network, and then like the Pluto. Pluto had a bunch of old game shows, like the original Price is Right.
What's his name? Alan Lunt or Alan?
Yeah,
right. That was what's her name's husband?
Betty White.
Betty White.
Yeah. Yes, he was on Password. Yeah.
For Password.
God, that's like, it's so much fun to watch some of those shows. The game shows today, they're like sped up a little bit, even when they bring back the old ones.
Yeah. Card Sharks. I love Card
Sharks. Who's your Card Shark guy? Were you a Bob Eubanks guy? Were you?
Or who was the other guy? Jim
Perry.
Jim
Sail
Perry.
of the Century, another great show.
He did Sail of the Century, yeah. Peter Tamarkin. He did.
Oh yeah.
No whammies. No whammies. Come on, no whammies. Stop. $5,000 and the spin. Love Pressure Luck. As a matter of fact, I think it's a Norwegian cruise ship is actually doing Pressure Luck as a game show on the ship. That's awesome.
Oh,
I'm a Royal Caribbean guy, but that's actually very cool. They never did a computer game for that, for Pressure Luck. Why wouldn't you?
Oh no, it seems like a pretty easy thing to make.
It is it's a great slot machine. When I was on my cruise back in May, there was a great slot machine that I won some serious buckos on with Grammys. Yes, it was pretty great. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh no, I know.
We're talking about the third fall, Blockbuster from the Apron by Mark.
Blockbuster from the Apron, and then
Dax did a pile driver, and Jade did a J driller, and they just kept kicking out.
Yep. Did anybody have a finisher called Joker's Wild? No,
it was an
impact. It was an Impact show, actually. Joker's Wild.
Anyway. They kicked out of the big rig, and they said that no one had kicked out of the big rig before, which I don't know if that's true or not.
I feel like it's not.
I feel like in the NXT probably someone did, but maybe not.
I'm assuming probably Johnny did.
Mm-hmm. And then they had like a boxing match at the end. Jay and Dax were throwing some stiff punches at each other. And Mark and Cash went through the table, which is a spot that they show quite a bit when they're showing Ring of Honor. Yep. In 2023, the two of them going through the table. Second J Driller only got 2, and then Dax hit a second rope pile driver, which just looked absolutely brutal to get the 3, which also surprised me. Not just that they won, but that it was won essentially in a one-on-one move, but like a second rope pile driver. It wasn't a tag team move or anything like that.
Yeah. I was just... I didn't think they'd be able to top that match. It was really good. I would give it 4.5.
That's actually what I said too. I said 4.5 on that.
4.5, and Dave gave it 5.
Well, I think he had to. I think he didn't have a choice.
Yeah, because
he gave the other one 5.
5, and it's not 5. But this one definitely could have been 5. But I give it 4.5.
Yeah, Cage Match, the first one was 9.58, and this one was 9.42. So interchangeable. No difference there.
Well, obviously, Steve Aloysius Willie.
Uh-oh.
We need a rubber match.
Yes.
One apiece. And that takes us to the College Park Center in Arlington, Texas, December 10th, 2022, final battle.
And we are all in the AEW era now.
Yeah, totally. Here's your card. AR Fox and Blake Christian defeated La Facción Ignorable, 3 3/4. Athena defeated Mercedes Martinez to win the ROH Women's title. She still has the belt to this day. 3.5. Swerve in Our Glory, Keith and Swerve, defeated Shane Taylor Promotions. 4. Oh, yeah, this is totally AEW. Really? WWE would have got trashed for this, by the way.
Well, they're interchangeable at this point.
That's true. The Embassy defeated Dalton Castle and the boys to win the 6-man tag team titles. 3.5.
Belts now. Yeah.
3.5 from Steve. 3.5 from Dave. Wheeler Yuta. I guess between Death Before Dishonor and this show, Daniel Garcia had actually won I think he won it on Dynamite, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
The Pure title, where here by referee's decision, Wheeler Yuta won the Pure title back. Does he still have it?
Wheeler does have the Pure title, yes.
Okay. 3 3/4 from Dave. We'll skip that match. Samoa Joe defeats Juice to retain the TV title, 3 1/4. And then Claudio defeats Chris Jericho to win the ROH World title, 3 3/4. So, like I said to you earlier, when you just told me the 3 matches, I had no idea. I totally forgot what the situation was for Stips and everything, and then I saw it.
Mm-hmm. Double dog collar match.
Double dog collar match. Now, Stephen Aloysius Willie, you have to understand something, and I know you do because you're in my age group. So there's a lot of, and if Dr. G was here, Dr. G would totally agree with me. There's a lot of Stips of matches that I hold very dear to me. Stips that I feel like are very sacred and should be taken very seriously and used very sparingly. My number one favorite Stip match of all time is Hell in a Cell. And it's been bastardized the last 12 years.
Right.
To trash that it just makes me sick.
Just happens to be a weapons match that has a cage around it.
Yeah, and then the cage looked like Twizzlers. And fuck you, Vince.
It breaks all the time.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. Cages in general. Love cages in general. And dog collars.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and we talked about it when I did my GWCW, my GNWA WCW top 100 matches of all time. Obviously, the greatest dog collar match of all time. And you're not going to change my mind no matter how hard you try. Not you, Steve, but I'm saying rhetorically. You could change my mind because you're you. But November 24th, 1983, Greensboro, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. The Hot Rod and the Hammer. You're never going to change my mind. And that match is a top 5 match of all time for me. All time. 2 studs on a big stage when the stage was just starting to grow.
A type of match that we really haven't seen before. Because most of us didn't see it when it came out. You know, you might have had got the VHS or something like that. We had those VHSs at the library when I was a kid. Can you believe they had the NWA VHSs, like your best of Great American Bash and that kind of stuff at the library. That's how I could watch the shows, but you couldn't ever watch the big matches. And it wasn't even on pay-per-view.
Which means you live near the coolest library ever.
Yes.
Imagine us. All right, everybody, let's paint this picture before we move on. So, you're in the library and there's probably these little cubby holes, where the microfiche is. Remember microfiche? Yes. Wow. Yep, absolutely. I don't care if I'm dating myself. Go fuck you, everybody. I'm dating myself. Microfiche, baby, and dittos. Remember the smell of dittos?
Yeah, the purple and the
purple.
The black insert.
Oh yeah. It's like airplane glue or whiteout. Anyway, I digress. But just imagine, you're in those little cubbies where, you're watching videos in the library and you got this kid watching some National Geographic on the Paleolithic era or whatever. Then you got some other kid watching something about Abraham Lincoln or whatever, and this other kid's watching, something about geometry angles. And then there's little Steve.
Yep, little Steve.
The end, watching fucking Starrcade 88.
Yeah. More than that, we're talking Great American Bash 85.
Yes, all the tours. The tours.
Scaffold matches and the bunkhouse brawl. They had that the special interest section.
Yep.
And those things weren't cheap. VHS tapes back in the day were $140.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they used to edit them so bad. Used to edit them so bad.
Oh yeah.
Imagine being in Steve Willie's classroom when he was, 11 years old. What does Thanksgiving mean to you? Bobby, I like turkey. Jane, I like football. Steve, Starrcade 85, The Gathering. With your little cowlick hair.
Yeah, definitely.
and your kitty trapper and your Transformers trapper keeper.
Yep, not far from the truth.
Oh God. More than meets the eye. So
that's fake.
don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. My 7th grade teacher said that, and literally we thought it was, the movie Class of 1984. It was about to turn into that. Because when she said that, we were like, oh, what did you do this weekend? Oh, my dad took me to see WrestleMania. I was in 7th grade. This is 1986. My dad took me to see WrestleMania 2, and I was getting high fives. And the teacher goes, that's fake, right? And literally every kid looked at her literally like Santa Claus was fake.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were literally going to put her through a fucking table. You don't say that, you stupid bitch. Not 1986. Fuck is wrong with you? Jesus Christ. I hate adults. Anyway, so when I saw, Steve, that this match, the rubber match of this unbelievable trilogy of respect, was a double dog collar, I went, this can't be this good. This can't be handed to me right now. No way. Because not only do I love the dog collar, but you're talking about two teams that get, Steve, what to do with dog collar chains. They know what to do. They're not scared of it. It's not like WWE wrestlers now could be scared of a chain. Ooh, I don't want the chain to hit me in the face, because I got to go do some fucking Snickers commercial or some shit. No. Mark and Jay are like, fuck, I'm not going to be in any fucking commercials. I'm just going to turn his face into a fucking cheeseburger. Dax and Cash are like, dude, let's do it. Let's fucking do it. They knew what they wanted. You could tell that the four of them were looking at each other like, this isn't Final Battle. This is Greensboro, North Carolina, November 1983. Let's just fucking fight. Steve, I've seen a lot of violent matches. I was actually talking about one with Dr. G when we did our tribute to the Iron Sheik. The Iron Sheik Sergeant Slaughter boot camp match at Madison Square Garden. You know the match.
Yep.
June 6th, 1984. Is fucking amazing. When he pulls the Iron Sheik's boot off, he hits the point, Slaughter, and just starts beating Sheik in the fucking face with it. 11-year-old me had to smile. Or 10-year-old, actually. Yeah, it was my birthday. Yeah, 10-year-old me. Yeah, I couldn't watch out my mom. My dad loved it. My mom, no, she couldn't see that. And then you look back and like Shawn at Bad Blood 97. I mean, Taker, until Kane came out, Taker was fucking assassinating Shawn in that match. Shawn, I think, got 2 moves in. Pretty much he spent 30 minutes literally bumping death out of his body. I mean, his face, literally, you couldn't see anything. It was just a giant red thing. It looked like a cherry. We talk about a pair of others Hell in a Cells. You want to talk about other bloodbaths, Steve? You got Taker and Brock from No Mercy 02. And from Little Rock. Holy crap! Even Paul bled in that match. Jesus. And then a match I mentioned earlier, Vengeance 2005 in Vegas, Triple H and Batista in the cell. That was just a disgusting bloodbath because I remember Batista wore white. He was smart. Just like FTR wore white. Here, with the dates on their butt. That was awesome.
I didn't like that. I didn't really? I liked that they were white, but they also had in the front FTRIP, which actually it was funny because the Guns did that later. The Guns basically came out at the end of this match and attacked FTR, but on AEW pretty much the next week, the whole story was after Wrestle Kingdom, because after this match they went to Wrestle Kingdom and lost the IWGP titles. So they came back and had nothing, and so the Guns did FTRIP, but they had that on the front of their tights, and so you're pretty much implying we're losing this match because they have the first date on the back that they started in Ring of Honor, and then the last date. So I didn't really care for that, and maybe I wouldn't have recognized that if I went in cold, if I watched this live, but I had already known the result. So maybe I'm just looking too far into it, but I thought that was kind of a strange choice. I did like the ROH logos from the first 2 shows, though. I thought that was excellent.
Yeah, I mean, it went in. It was. I didn't even know what to think. I had no idea what to anticipate, what I was walking into when I threw the match on. Oh my. one spot. There were two spots that did it for me.
Okay.
The two spots for me. Well, three. The one where I think it was Mark threw himself into Cash in the pile of chairs outside the ring.
Oh, the Beal?
Beal.
Like when he threw him off of the top rope by the chain, and then he just basically did a somersault.
Yeah.
Flip from the top rope to the pile of chairs. What the fuck? Was terrifying.
I believe it was Jay who crotched Dax with the chain. I think they were both in the top rope, and I think it was Jay that crotched Dax with the chain. Just imagine the only other time that's something that might be more painful than getting a chain, a heavy metal chain smacked into your scrotum was probably the match between Sabu and Terry Funk when they're picking barbs out of their crotch during the barbed wire match.
Mm-hmm.
And then the move, I think you know where I'm going with this. The move that did it for me. Superplex.
Oh.
On
the chairs?
On just fucking chairs, and just everything hit.
And the
backs,
and the
knees, fucking heads.
I thought Jay took that one the worst. Like the back of his head hit a couple of the chairs because this spot has been done many times.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I feel that the fact that the chairs were so spread out and not just one pile where it's like, okay, they're both going to take it on their backs or something. No, like that was it was Dax's entire body and basically the back of Jay's head and shoulders just crack. Yeah, it was not good.
I know. Yeah, I mean, obviously, listen. There's times where I assume you obviously have to suspend some disbelief. In real life, that is absolutely ridiculous. But unfortunately, Steve, as you know, I'm kind of a sadist, and I'm like, fuck, man, if you're gonna punch the ticket, punch the fucking ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not wrong. They're probably. I mean, listen. You obviously have to know that your body can handle it. And I mean, these four guys were fucking. I think they just. Think about whoever the agent was for that match, and they're sitting in the back. What the fuck what are you talking about?
Yeah,
now, I mean, yeah, what do you talk about? I mean, think about this. Let's go back to Starrcade 83. Obviously, back those days, there wasn't high-flying stuff, so pretty much Hammer and Hot Rod pretty much just beat each other in the face with the chain, and obviously they had the storyline with Piper's ear. So there was no, like, crazy flip-flops, like, Piper wasn't going to suplex fucking Hammer on a pile of chairs, although knowing those two sick fucks, probably would have. But I mean, if Piper was alive, he'd be all in on this match. That's the sad part. And then they're doing the kind of the whatever you call it, the crippler crossface or whatever we can legally call it now without being disgusting.
Yeah. Just with the chain in the mouth and such.
Yeah, and they're doing their, FTR's trying to do their whole grab hands so they don't tap, and the Briscoes like, nope, you ain't doing that this time. Them boys ain't letting you do it this time. And they're yelling and they're trying to grab and and the place is going fucking nuts. Finally, a crowd that's not dead, and the place is going fucking crazy. And then finally, Dax tapped out, and the Briscoes won back their ROH World Tag Team Championships. 13-time champions. In my opinion, better than the Dudleys. Just my opinion. But
yeah, this was a 5-star match for me. I don't give those out lightly. In fact, I rarely give out 5 stars.
Right.
But yeah, it was a 5-star match. If I were watching this live, I would have had no idea who would have won. I would have figured the Briscoes were going to win just because of the way the story went. But I didn't know what the finishing move was. I bit for the second J Driller. I thought that's what it was going to be.
Yeah.
Because it was like a J Driller on the chair. Then I thought he was going to do a J Driller off like the second rope because Dax was going for another pile driver only this time off the top rope. So I fell for a couple. What I did like about the match towards the end is after that deal from the top into that chairs that you had talked about, Mark was not in the match anymore after that part. And it went on for a few more minutes.
Correct.
But the only thing that he did at the very end was out of desperation. You know, when Cash was trying to hop in, like you said, he just held him back with the chain so he couldn't make the save.
And this was the shortest match of the three. This match was 22-20. You couldn't go much further than that. There'd be nothing left.
Not for this type of match. I think I think that was actually smart.
There'd be nothing left.
The blood, good God. We talked when we did our our Jay Briscoe retrospective that really no one bleeds like Jay Briscoe.
No,
and
you're right.
This proved it. They're like, it's a crimson mask. The side of his head was shaved. It wasn't just a crimson mask. It was like all the way around his head.
He was the Red Skull. He was Captain America's enemy.
Red Skull.
And I think when he gets busted open, that's when his dreads look best because they're all just dirty, and gross, and
and at the end, one was like, dreadlocks are kind of, sticky and like to begin with, but one of his dreads got like coagulated with the blood, so it was just sticking up in the air. It's like when a little kid like is in the bathtub and they just like put all the shampoo and stick their hair straight up in the air. It was like that, only with dreads and blood.
Oh, it's crazy.
What are we watching?
Oh my God. I mean, in my opinion, now Dave. Now, what does Dave have to give it, for Christ's sakes? Because this match is easily better than the first two.
He did 5.5.
He did 5.5.
And again, I understand where he's coming from there. Like, you have to go higher.
Yeah.
And then the cage match was 9.64, which I'm gonna go all-time matches.
Isn't it still one of the?
It's the highest rated ROH match of all time. And we are, let's see, 31st of all time, according to Cage Match. Highest rated match of all time was March 1st, 2003, between Kobashi and Misawa.
Kobashi and Misawa.
Yeah, that's a 9.82. Yes.
You've seen that match, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen.
Jesus Christ.
A lot of Kenny Omega.
Holy crap.
Omega Ospreay from 2023, 9.78. That was from Wrestle Kingdom, not the most recent one.
Oh, I was going to say the one from Saturday?
Yeah, it's too early for that one yet.
Okada Kenny, the 6-star. So the 6-star is 1/100th of a point higher than the 7-star.
It's interchangeable at that point, right? We're talking. Right. It also depends how many people are voting for it, but both of those.
That Shibata, is that Shibata Okada match our match? The one where Shibata fucking should be dead? Is that one? April 9th, 2017?
It might be.
That the one where he pretty much, his head just went.
I'm checking. Yeah, that was the one that was really bad.
Yeah.
So that was much harder for me to. That was much harder for me if I remember that. And you can go in the archives and look up that one. That one's much harder for me to rate that highly because you shouldn't have a match that literally nearly kills a man.
The highest, the oldest match in the top 20 is Crawford and Furnace, which is Furnace and LaFon, against Kobashi and Kikuchi. May 25th, 1992. All Japan. I think that's all Japan, right?
Yeah. And this is going to skew much towards international and Japan, just because it's an international website, and much newer as well.
The highest rated WWE match is
Dragunov versus Walter
during the pandemic.
Yeah,
yep.
I don't know about
and
that.
NXT UK.
After
that, it's a match that I saw live that I think is one of the most amazing matches ever, and that is Andrade and Gajani from TakeOver Philly, January of 2018. Then after that, right after that match at 27 is Brett and Steve from
the one I saw live.
13. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Wow, a lot of Okada here too. This might be an interesting show to. Might be an interesting list to think about.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, folks, if you don't want to watch all 3 matches, watch the last one.
Yeah.
That's what I recommend. Final Battle 2022, December 10th in Arlington. Watch it. It's disgusting.
It's disgusting.
But if you love violence, like I do, I know Steve kind of does.
It depends on this. I don't. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I was watching. I watched the third one before we taped, and at the end of the match, I thought to myself, "Wow, this is a death match to me." I don't, and I know you're very similar to me in this regard. I'm not a big fan of death matches where it's like there's no psychology. We're just taking light tubes from Home Depot and hitting each other with them.
Don't
or
even
we're setting up a door and falling through it, or we're setting up a plane of glass. Like
stupid.
This is a death match to me where it's like you got a couple weapons, but there's a ton of psychology. They're building from matches they had previously. There were a couple spots in that third match that were Jay basically reversing a whole string of moves that were done in the match prior. And it just, it's a build of the feud as opposed to, hey, it's a first time matchup between 2 people and they're going to put each other through glass.
Yep.
It's crazy. No, you wouldn't do that.
It's crazy. Right? It's crazy. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. Don't even get me started on that. You know how I feel. Garbage cans. But this told a story. It was the end of a story. This is what you're supposed to do. This is how cage matches were back in the day at house shows. You didn't open feuds with cage matches. You ended feuds with cage matches. Just the way it was. It's just what wrestling was. And this feud just has such an old school. You know what it reminds me of? Yes. Are the Briscoes like and is FTR reminiscent of Arn and Tully? Of course they are. So they remind me of, and they had some awesomely violent matches during their title reign. I'm going to pull out a team, Steve, that's going to blow your mind. They're a D'Amato favorite of mine as well, and I as well. And that is the awesome WWF Tag Team Championship combo of Dick Murdoch and Adrian Adonis. They wrestled like FTR. They were violent sons of bitches, even for mid-'80s WWF. Them and the Briscoes had a brawl. I'll never forget one of my favorite TNT moments ever. Chief J Strongbow, who I fucking hate, is dancing with all these, like some Indian dance in the parking lot of the studio in Baltimore where they taped TNT, and fucking and Adonis and Murdoch drive by in their Cadillac throwing beer cans at him. I'm sorry, it was just so great. I love Murdoch and fucking Adonis, but that. You just had 2 teams, Steve, and I really wish that new wrestlers and current young bookers just look at those 3 matches and look at those 2 teams, and you say to yourself, "Wow, this is how I build a feud. This is how I sell tickets. This is how I reach that crescendo." Now, do you need to have a match where you're all superplexing each other into piles of steel chairs? No, not all the time, because not everybody can get away with that. But just take the violence out of it for a minute, Steve, even though it is a main component of this feud. When you're simply talking about a narrative of respect and wanting to be the best. FTR did not walk around with those 3 pairs of championships, the IWGP, the AAA, and the ROH, like fucking props. Like a lot of assholes carry belts around now, which makes me sick. They carried them around like we won these. They weren't handed to us. We didn't buy them on a website. We earned these. We wear these because we earn them, because we are the best tag team in the world. We're the best tag team in Mexico. We're the best tag team in Ring of Honor. We're the best tag team in Japan. And when you give it that true sense of reality, that true sense of realistic psychology, that's what makes a feud even better. So don't worry about the violence part of it, Steve. I know we talk about that a lot and how sometimes, there's a limit you reach.
Right.
But not every feud, not every blood feud, or not every great feud needs to end with this kind of match. The Briscoes and FTR they knew this is how it had to end. This is how it had to end for them. But not every feud has to end this way. Dalton Castle shouldn't be superplexing people on piles of chairs. That's stupid. Or Seth Rollins should not be superplexing Finn Balor Saturday into a pile of chairs. That's stupid. Right? Is that who's wrestling? Finn on Saturday? Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't throw that shit around to try to get a pop out of the fans, because that's what crap garbage wrestling promotions do with light tubes and bags of fucking glass and all that other bullshit. It's building to a crescendo. That's what these two teams did. Built to a crescendo. That's old school wrestling. That's old school booking. That's sitting down and using your brain and figuring out how to go ahead. What's the end game and how do we go backwards?
And
that's why I love these matches.
What makes it even so much smarter is that they knew they only had, there were no other shows for Ring of Honor. They had to put them, on the main event, we talked about this, how do we get the Ring of Honor matches away from AEW, because they didn't have any other way to show
outlet.
So
correct.
Yeah, they didn't have any other outlet. So they were really just booking for these 3 shows.
Right.
And using AEW to set it up a little bit. So what are you going to do? Okay, we can't have Briscoes on TV. So we have 3 shows this year. 1, 2, 3. Gradually build it up. Who's the best between these 2 tag teams?
Correct.
Very, very simple. And that's what makes booking work is, you're going to have injuries and stuff, so you're going to have to change plans, but having long-term plans, having a story, and then working backwards from there. Okay, this is our plan. 1, 2, 3. What are the matches going to be? How do we get to those matches?
Exactly. It's crazy.
It's just the simplicity.
I mean, there's really nothing else. There's really nothing else to say. You just know when you're building a team, a feud, and you're writing it out, you need to read the room.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're looking at these 2 teams, you're going, yeah, we can kind of amp this up a little bit. This isn't like Joe, and this isn't Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia. You don't give them a dog collar. That's fucking stupid. That's
right.
not.
They don't need it.
That's not the tone of that feud.
Yeah, they can do all that stuff just in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, that one's just about snapping elbows and and grinding and sticking the point of your elbow into the back or into the ribs.
Ah, yes.
I know, I love that. That's a Dr. G thing.
Digging the knuckles into the side.
Oh yes.
The back.
During
little things like we will do.
Right, during an abdominal stretch. Yes.
Yeah. Zack Sabre does that too. That stuff all the time. It's so.
I love that. It's so good.
It's what makes an expert wrestler. It separates an excellent wrestler from a decent wrestler.
Yeah. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. You need to know what to do and when to do it and what the tone of your feud is. And this one, rest in peace, Jay. You just do it. You just did it right every time. He just knew it, Like I have to say, and not to go back to, and we did a great Jay Briscoe retrospective tribute show. Please check it out if you haven't listened to it yet. It's on the catalog. You could argue that I don't think anybody better understood the essence of ROH than Jay Briscoe. And his brother. But Jay, even a little more so. I mean, yeah, we've had some legendary ROH guys, and and as we continue on this wonderful program, we will bring up other greats of ROH history. But Jay Briscoe's a guy that will never be forgotten. I just feel he was the essence of Ring of Honor. Even going back as 2004, 2005, when they first came in, or 2006. So, anyway, that was fun. That was damn fun.
Absolutely.
Great. Check those out. Supercard of Honor 15, Death Before Dishonor, but most definitely Final Battle from 2022. Steve, always a pleasure. I love you.
Absolutely.
You are the best. And
you are too.
Steve will be with me next week with the Godfather, Nate Milton, for our next episode of the main event. We will we'll recap and kind of give a post-mortem on Money in the Bank and look ahead to the big weekend in the Motor City. And next month here on Pod of Honor, Steve Willie's just gonna go into his mind, pick up the top of his head, and pull out something wonderful.
Yeah, we are going to go back to the randomizer. So I'm pretty excited about that. We did that, I believe, in episode 3, where we just randomly picked a show to watch. I put it in the random number generator of the year, and then I counted up the events and put that in the random number generator. We had the show in Pittsburgh. I don't even remember what show we had, to be honest, at this point.
It was
the Chicago show.
It was the Chicago show. You were at it. Wasn't that the one where we saw your face?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel a little Steen action coming on. Kill Steen, kill.
Maybe I'll have to.
Mr. Owens. I am getting a feeling.
Sounds good to me.
Something 2011, 12, maybe.
Works for me.
All right. Well, Steve Woolley, thank you. You can follow Steve on Instagram. He has a wonderful picture, folks.
You know what you're going to do here.
This wonderful. I knew Steve loves good Italian cuisine. He had this delicious-looking lasagna that he took a picture of on Instagram.
Looking.
And I love it.
Casserole Steve loves. Deep dish pizza. A lot of deep dish pizza. Like, whatever I have, and I put it on there. Yep. And it was me and my daughter and Scott. I had one too many pieces. One too many. I went for a walk at the mall in my hometown with my daughter, and I'm like, oh, now I know what a cow feels like when it chews its cud. It's like tomatoes taste good, coming up and going back down a second time, I guess.
Yeah, tomato burps. Oh my God, so painful. So painful. Anyway, Steve, always a pleasure. We'll be back next month for our next episode. Meanwhile, roll up the streamers, let's shake hands, and get ready for next month. The Pod of Honor.
Wow, this blood is coagulating in my eye.
Cool. Doesn't smell like mimeographs.